Hello, my name is Stupidubins, and in this one, I'm doing a solo not fully evolved, or NFE, run of Pokemon Heart Gold, except in this one, before every gym leader, I'm going to randomize my Pokemon to a different NFE. Real quick, some rules for this one before I stomp Falkner and his bird Pokemon. I don't level my Pokemon over the level cap set by the gym leader's highest Pokemon. I don't use items in battle because that's cringe. And I create my movesets for my Pokemon based off of moves they would have learned at that level in any generation. So let's get started. You saw me get Giraffe Rig for the first gym, which for an NFE is really good. Falkner is one of the more difficult gym leaders because Pidgeotto does so much damage at this point in the game, but my Giraffe Rig, like I said, is very good and is easily able to stomp his way through this battle. Next up is Bugsy versus my Prinplup. Prinplup is a very good roll, but at this point in the game doesn't get any flying moves outside of Peck and doesn't get any water moves outside of Water Gun. Also, Bugsy's probably the most difficult second gym leader possibly ever. His Scyther is really fast, tanks a lot of hits, remarkably well, and dishes out more damage than my Prinplup could take, because it's a penguin. He also has the move U-turn and focus energy, so my strategy of lowering attack with charm is only partially effective because he can just U-turn and reset the stat drops, or crit me due to his increased crit chance due to focus energy. My strategy for this one is to lower his attack so U-turn doesn't do too much damage when he eventually clicks it. I'm also running Metal Claw, which has a 10% chance to give me an attack raise. I'm going to be spamming that as many times as possible because Peck, while super effective against the Scyther, is like a 6-shot when unboosted. So the plan is to lower the Scyther's attack a few times, hope it doesn't crit me, and U-turns out to one of his weaker Kakuna or Metapod. Imagine if he had actual Pokemon as second and third slots and not troll Pokemon like Kakuna and Metapod. Don't think I could actually do it. Then I'm going to spam Metal Claw on them until they are fainted, then repeat until I can effectively take on the Scyther. Also, I forgot to mention, I'm doing all this while hoping the Scyther doesn't click Leer too many times because unlike them, I can't reset my defense drops. Next up is Grimer versus Whitney. This is another really good roll because Grimer is pretty defensively bulky and has the move Harden, so I can pretty easily set up on her Metronome spamming Clefairy. I'm hoping to get lucky with what she rolls with Metronome, but just in case, I've also given Grimer Disable to make it so she can't use Metronome and has to use the much weaker Double Slap instead. This also has the added benefit of me being able to prevent a rollout sweep with Whitney's famous Meltank. For my attacking move, I am running Poison Fang, which I can hope to poison Meltank because I am doing no damage to it on my own. Luckily, for some reason, she never clicks Rollout and also never clicks Milk Drink, so we were able to take home the victory relatively easily and also make a child cry, so that's good too. Next up is everyone's favorite sneaky kid, Morty, versus my Totodile. I honestly didn't have much for this fight. All of his Pokemon are really fast and one-shot my Totodile. I cannot set up on his lead Ghastly because it usually starts with Curse, and I don't have enough turns to beat the rest of his Mons while I've been cursed. So the solution is just equipping a Choice Scarf and clicking Bite an appropriate amount of times. His Mons may be fast, but they don't take hits well, so it's really just that easy to send Mortimer back to his room to listen to Avenged Sevenfold. Let me know if that was a good Scene Kid band poll. I honestly can't remember, but I feel like it was. Next is Chuck, and I got possibly the worst roll that I could have gotten in Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff, by the way, is a normal type in this generation with a defense stat of 20. And I'm checking my notes, and Chuck is a fighting type gym leader with 2 fully evolved Pokemon in Primeape and Poliwrath. I honestly don't think I could have gotten a worse Mon. Igglybuff would have been worse. That would have definitely been worse. The thing about Chuck, though, is he really wants to use the move Focus Punch. And Focus Punch, if you don't know, is a move that has -3 priority. And if you get hit on that turn that you use Focus Punch, you lose your focus and can't attack. Both Primeape and Poliwrath have moves to facilitate Chuck being able to use the move Focus Punch. Primeape has Double Team, which boosts his evasion and makes it more likely for me to miss, so he can get off a Focus Punch. And Poliwrath has Hypnosis, which can put me to sleep and not move, and thus he can get off a Focus Punch. Honestly, find you a partner who loves you as much as Chuck loves using Focus Punch, because that is support. The point I'm trying to make, though, is Chuck wastes a lot of time boosting his evasion and gives me more time to lower his attack with Charm and boost my defenses with Stockpile. On top of this, my Jigglypuff has the ability Cute Charm, which has a 30% chance to infatuate the target if it uses a contact move, which Focus Punch is. And my only attacking move is Body Slam, which is a 30% to paralyze the target. And if the target is both paralyzed and infatuated, it has a 60% chance to not do anything on a given turn. Also, at +6 evasion, I have a 33% chance to hit any attack, but I am very patient, and I'm willing to wait as long as Chuck wants me to. So I'll sit here, and he can do his thing. After saving her Ampharos, next up is Jasmine and her steel types. For her, I got Lileep, which honestly isn't the worst. It is a rock type, but most of her steel types outside of Steelix don't have any steel type moves. For her, I'm running a full-on stall set with Amnesia and Ingrain. I wish I could also have Leech Seed. That would make me so happy. I'm also running Ancient Power in the hope that I get boosts that go along with using it. Unfortunately for her, Iron Tail doesn't have 100% accuracy, and I can pretty easily take home the win and my 6th gym badge because I totally didn't have to go back to Chuck after I accidentally skipped him previously. Next is Price versus my Horsey. This is probably my favorite set that I created during this run. Horsey has the ability Sniper, which makes a crit do 3 times the normal damage in this generation rather than 2 times the normal damage. That with the combo of Focus Energy and Scope Lens means that I'll be hitting crits 50% of the time for 3 times the normal damage. I'm also running Agility and Dragon's Breath to outspeed and hit relatively hard. The reason I'm running Dragon's Breath over a water type move is both Seal and Dugong are also water type, and I don't get a really good water type move until later. For this fight, I am really banking on hitting crits because I don't do that much damage as a Horsey. I don't want to spoil what happens in the rest of the fight because this is probably the most clutch Horsey performance I've ever seen, and I just want to let Horsey speak for herself. Next up is Claire versus my Rhydon. I'm going to be honest with you, I was very disappointed with this fight. I wanted so badly to make special attacking Rhydon work, but it just did no damage. And that, plus the fact that I don't outspeed the Kingdra naturally, makes it basically impossible. So instead, I went with a boring set of Return, Swords Dance, Rock Tomb, and Thunder to honor the idea of special attacking Rhydon. I only need to set up 2 Swords Dances versus the Gyarados to one-shot everything else with Return. I need to do that and hope that our Kingdra misses Hydro Pump, which means I win this fight around 30% of the time, which isn't great, but it's the best I could do against this team. Next up is the Elite Four and Will versus Corphish. This really is the start of a string of very bad plays on my opponent's part, starting with a Xatu that spams nothing but the move Me First. The move Me First is a move that if the target has not made its move this turn, but has selected a damage dealing move, Me First copies the move preemptively and increases the power by 50%. I can bypass this by using a non-damaging move like Dragon Dance, and setting up 2 +6/+6 speed and attack, respectively, with Corphish and then sweeping. Me First only works if you are faster than your opponent, and at +6 I am faster than the Xatu. The Xatu unfortunately gets wise to my shenanigans and uses Psychic, and I'm only able to get to +3, but thankfully that is enough to sweep the rest of his team with Crunch. Next up is Koga versus my Bronzor. This is probably the best Pokemon I could have gotten versus his poison types. I just looked at all of the moves that his Pokemon can use, and Bronzor is either immune to them or resists every single move. The only issue I ran into is Bronzor also doesn't do any damage to my opponent. This is why you can see me using Extra Sensory over Psychic, because Psychic doesn't have nearly enough PP to get through this fight. I'm also running Metal Sound, which gives my opponent -2 special defense, so Extra Sensory does extra damage. Even with this, I'm barely doing any damage to any of his mons because my Pokemon is a floating coin. But like I said previously, I am willing to wait here all day. I have a full 48 power points of Extra Sensory and nothing better to do. Like I said, this is mainly a stall match, so enjoy the chill beats in the background. Next up, Bruno continues the streak of boneheaded decision making against my Slackoth. This is probably the worst Pokemon I could have gotten versus his all-fighting team. Not only is Slackoth very slow and weak, it also has the worst ability in the game at this point, in Truant, which makes it so it can only move every other turn. And also, that's not to mention, it is normal type, which is weak to every single Pokemon on his team. So, how does Bruno mess this up? Well, his lead Hitmontop spams Dig, which is a 2-turn move which essentially negates the disadvantage my Slackoth has against his Hitmontop. The Hitmontop also has the option of using the move Triple Kick, and I think the reason it doesn't is because when the game decides what move it chooses, it finds the one that does the most damage. And multi-hit moves like Triple Kick only calculate damage off of the first hit, which has a base power of 10. If all 3 kicks hit with the same type bonus, from it being a fighting move, and it being super effective to my Slackoth, it has an effective base power of 150, versus the base power of Dig, which is 80. Dig is actually even worse than that, because it gives me an extra turn of leftovers recovery, and doesn't hit every turn, since it's a 2-turn move. I'm not going to make you watch the full setup because it takes a very long time, but I am able to get to +6 attack, +6 defense, +6 special defense with the combination of Curse and Amnesia. I choose to get +6 special defense because for some reason this Onix has Dragon Breath. I'm also running Slackoth to gain health if needed, which I can pretty easily spam on said Onix because it's bad. Overall, this is a much easier fight than I thought due to Bruno being a dum-dum. Next up is Karen versus my Piplup, and I will tell you I am not proud of this fight. I briefly considered just re-rolling because I had already gotten Prinplup previously, and I didn't really see a path to victory with Piplup, but I didn't, because I have something called Integrity. Speaking of Integrity, the path I ended up choosing is getting to +6 evasion with Double Team. Piplup doesn't get a single other way to boost its stats. I'm also running Aerial Ace, so I am guaranteed to hit her Umbreon, and Surf, so I have enough power points to get through her entire team. At +6 evasion, I have a 33% chance of getting hit on any given turn for a 100% accurate move. I'm running Roost to get that health back after getting hit once. I then have to hope I don't get hit a second time before I can Roost, because I think I can tank 1 hit from her team, but not 2. This means I have a 1 in 9 chance of losing the match at any given turn, which I feel is pretty good. We get the 8-9 and take home the win. Next up is Lance and his flying types versus my Electrike. For this run I am running Ice Fang, Protect, Charge, and Curse. This is pretty much a simplish setup sweep with Electrike. The only difficulty is figuring out how many times I can set up / which setup moves should I be using. His lead Gyarados is a mixed attacker, so I had to set up both my special defense and defense at the same time. You will see that I set up my defenses a lot first, even though he's clicking Dragon Breath. This is because I would actually prefer he use Dragon Breath over Waterfall, because Gyarados is weaker on the special side, and also Waterfall flinches, which can be really annoying when I'm trying to set up, and basically will ruin a run. Basically, when setting up like this, you need to keep in mind how much HP you are using, and then set up in a way that limits these losses. It's not too difficult, but it does take some time to figure out the exact sequence that you need. And that was the Johto League. In the next video, I will hopefully be showing my run through the Kanto League and through Red, so I'll see you next time. Bye.